I'm sure you've seen dozens, maybe scores of people around town bearing a nameplate that says Invex on it. And it's not a new kind of animal. Actually, it stands for Industrialized Building Exposition and Congress 71, which is meeting here in Louisville some 13,000 strong. Now, the star attraction of this convention, which ends today, is a member of the President's Cabinet, who is our guest this morning on Omelette, the Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, Mr. George Romney. As Secretary Romney, I have seen you in action for a couple of hours. You've talked to the press, you've talked to the delegates, even in a private suite as we're in now. You are meeting with some of the important executives of the Congress, and you've been on the phone, and you've been talking business, and you look remarkably fit. It seems to me that you must do a lot of this in the course of your business, and I wonder how much it appeals to you.
Well, you enjoy it because you have an opportunity to influence things that are important and you think will benefit people. And after all, that's kind of exciting.
You've always been a doer, an achiever, haven't you?
Well, I've always been involved in action of one type or another, in business or in government. And I believe in keeping in good shape.
Yes, I've heard about the Romney physique. You do a lot of physical exercise.
Well, I just do it regularly.
You run?
You know, it's the regularity that counts. It isn't the amount of exercise you get, but it's doing it every day.
Like what, sir?
Oh, if I can't play a compact game of golf in the morning before I go to work, why, I go out and walk and run.
I don't know as I know what a compact game of golf is. In the hotel room, you mean?
No, I go out and play 4 balls, 9 holes. 4 balls on every hole. Play them all out. Sometimes run between the shots.
Are you able to do that in Washington much?
Oh, sure. I go out most mornings, and I get to the office, depending on when the sun comes up, sometimes before 7:30 and sometimes by 8.
You've been head of one of the giant corporations of America, American Motors. You have headed one of the great states. You've been governor of Michigan. You were the chief executive, and as such, when you said something would be done, generally it was done. Now you're head of an important department, but you're also a member of a cabinet. You're a member of a team. Has that changed the ball game much for you?
Well, of course, it's an exaggeration to think that a corporate executive or a governor just says you do this and it gets done. Now, it's true that there are different degrees of authority in private life as compared to public life, and of course there's a difference between being the chief executive of a state and being a member of a team, a member of the President's Cabinet. As a member of the President's Cabinet, I have authority and responsibility in a specific area, but not overall authority and responsibility, and I participate in the formulation of policy as it relates to my areas of activity. So it isn't quite the same, but nevertheless, regardless of whether it's business or whether it's state government or local government, you really have to get the cooperation of people, you have to motivate people, you have to point out goals and objectives that will cause them to want to work effectively with you. The effective administrator is not the one who does the work of 10 men, but who can get others to get 10 men to work hard.
What about the human element? They say that Washington, D.C., in any administration, is a home of ambition, of ruthless aggression, of people who are on the make. Does this get in the way of real accomplishment, Mr. Secretary?
Well, I guess you could say in school that the youngsters who go out for football and track and basketball are on the make, too. They go out to compete with one another to see who can excel. And actually, if you want a good, vibrant, dynamic society, there needs to be one where there is the opportunity for people to compete and to be judged on the basis of what they can do.
You don't mind
and what they contribute. So I don't mind competition. As a matter of fact, I left a very secure job in my youth with a complete monopoly, the Aluminum Company of America, which was a complete monopoly at that time, the only producer of aluminum, and I had complete security. And I went into the competitive automobile industry because I thought I'd get ahead faster in a competitive industry where there was more likelihood of being promoted on the basis of what you could do than there would be in a monopolistic industry where it depended a little bit more on seniority.
What are the joys of living in Washington and being Secretary of HUD?
Well, the principal satisfaction I get out of it is that when I was governor of Michigan, I eventually was confronted with problems that I couldn't really resolve at the state or local level. And the only way that those problems could be effectively resolved was by a change in the policies and the programs coming out of Washington. And as one of the President's cabinet, a member of the President's cabinet, I have an opportunity to influence those policies. Now, let me give you a specific example of what I'm talking about. One of the things that has made it difficult for governors and mayors to carry out their responsibilities effectively is that we've developed a great imbalance in this country between where the money is, where the tax money is, and where the problems are. The bulk of the tax money is down in Washington. The bulk of the problems at the state and the local level. And consequently, we need to correct this imbalance. And furthermore, we have a great centralization of decision-making in Washington now, because that's where the bulk of the money is. And it's been a great satisfaction to be a part of a team, President Nixon's team, that has a revolutionary program before Congress to correct that imbalance, to get more of the money out to the state and local levels, and to get it out there where governors and mayors can make the decisions rather than people in the anonymous officials in the bowels of the federal bureaucracies.
Very good.
And so there's been a great satisfaction in being a part of that effort.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Our guest this morning has been the Secretary of HUD, George Romney, here for Invex 71. We'll be back in just a minute.